I think we're supposed to talk over the guitar.
All right. Welcome everybody at home, sitting on your couch, getting ready for a big day. This is the biggest pregame show in Super Bowl history. This is the pregame show that we like to call TNZ. Credit to our good friend Brian Ganutek with coming up with that acronym. Stomps and I have been doing this for over 6 months now, and we haven't even been able to come up with that. So, Brian Ganutek, we're lucky to have you, and thanks for being such a basic thinker and dwindling it down to 3 letters. So,
you mean it's supposed to, the show is called The Neutral Zone, and he actually came up with TNZ? Wow.
Yeah, and just like how you came up with NWO, right?
That's okay. Like Bret Michaels' lyrics. Just fantastic.
Well, today, thanks, Steve. Well, today we have a very, very exciting show. This is long overdue for us to welcome three special guests. We were supposed to have a fourth one, and Stomps is going to tell you what happened there, and maybe Chmiel will add a little bit to that. However, what we're going to cover today is some real big, monumentous topics. So we're going to talk about what you're going to expect today. We're going to go through some Super Bowl predictions. I have some real big football fans here, so they'll be able to share with us who they think is going to win, and I hope they do it in an unbiased way. We're always going to talk about the vaccine, but today I got a little special treat for you all. We're going to talk about herd immunity and what we're trying to accomplish in the local Chicago ball hockey area, followed by the much anticipated interview with the Toros. We're going to talk about the Toros culture, the legacy of the Toros, some of the key things that they've accomplished over the last many years. And Chmiel, special thank you to you for putting together a very comprehensive set of information for all of our millions and millions of viewers out there. Clearly, this interview is going to be conducted by no other than my famous co-host, Stomps, who does it like nobody else in the business. Certainly, he knows how to ask questions, get to the heart of the matter, and he's going to do that today. Again, he's going to bring to you a fantastic and, as he would say, tremendous interview, followed by a new segment, or part of a segment that we're going to introduce you today with a living legend. And I don't say that because he's out of commission. I say that because he's a living, contributing, active member of the Chicago ball hockey community. And we're going to delight you today with Carlo's Corner. And we're going to talk a little bit about things that have made him who he is. And he's going to help all of us today. He's not going to do that in a preaching kind of way. And then finally, I do want to spend a few minutes at the end to talk to you about what's coming up in the upcoming episodes. So with that said, let's go to my equation here. So this is an equation I put together for everybody this Sunday. It's the Super Bowl plus the neutral zone. And like I said earlier, this is the pregame show TNZ. But when you get this equation of the Super Bowl Sunday plus the neutral zone, in my humble world, this is what I think it equates. It's the happiness equation. And that's what we're going to be delivering today. Happiness, excitement, motivation, and Carlos Corno is going to do a little bit of that too. And hopefully what we always strive to deliver to all of you at home is the ultimate entertainment experience. So no show happens without me talking about the vaccine. And today I want to say a little disclaimer here. I have, thanks to my co-host, I went out and I studied and researched HIPAA law. And I must say that Stomps inspired me, and his wife Susan said, listen, before you start showing those out there that either have had COVID or have had received the vaccine, you must get their permission. So I have went out and sought all permissions here. But what we're trying to establish here in this segment of the vaccine zone is to create a safe and healthy place to play hockey. Because how many of you, when you play hockey, look at that guy or that gal and say, I wonder if they've had COVID. And if they have, I'd feel a lot more comfortable going into the corner with them. Let's face it, we know Sabatini and Dante both haven't had COVID. So I always wonder when those guys are in each other's faces, breathing on each other, what transmission is happening at that point? I don't want to get into that corner, but the vaccine zone will help prepare us to go into those corners and win those puck battles. We're seeking something called herd immunity here. And herd immunity is what I like to say here, and I put the footnote there for you. It is a form of indirect protection from infectious disease that occur with some diseases when sufficient percentage of the population has either been affected by disease, whether through vaccination or previous infections, thereby reducing the likelihood of infection for individuals who lack the immunity. So we're trying to achieve that herd immunity. Listen, I have to tell you, our political leader, our president right now has promised 1 million doses per day. I don't know how we're doing as a ball hockey community, but we might be outdoing that if you think about that. And this is what I'm going to show you right here. Here's the vaccine. Here's the syringe. Here's the progress we made. We have a nutritionist who works in a hospital, Larissa. She's been vaccinated. That's one person. Steve Givens, a special guest on the show today. He works with compromised people. He was one of the people that was able to get vaccinated. He's also somebody who we work with and play with on a regular basis. We're really excited. It's moving the dose up in terms of herd immunity. Number 3, which I shared with you last week, is our good friend Dante. He has received the first of his second vaccine. That means he's already to some 70% immune to the vaccine, to the virus. And then finally, somebody who we all love to talk about, he's in the front line every single day, is Freddie Coletta. He's also received his first vaccine. So when you see these 4 great hockey players out there, don't be afraid. Go in there, go in their face, go in the corners. So that's all I want to say. We're making progress. Stomps, any comments here?
This all applies whether or not there's COVID. I question going into the corners with some of these folks and getting too close to them, regardless of what's going on in the world. So it's good practice in general.
Absolutely. The only request I have for our millions and millions of viewers out there is if you feel comfortable and you've been vaccinated, please let either Stomps or I know so we can publicize that, so we can continue to create the bullet point that I put up on the screen, a safe and healthy place to play hockey.
I will pledge, if I can make this happen, when my time comes for the vaccine, we will film it and show it on this show. How about that?
All right. And a shout out to Carlos hot dog stand in that picture. Hey, free advertising. Yeah. Awesome.
Great. So before we get to the show, the Toros special edition, I want to ask you guys, between the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Kansas City Chiefs, let's start with Dave Chmiel. Who's your pick?
Well, let's see. That's a shock.
This is going to be a shocking pick.
Yeah, that's a shocking prediction.
Tom Brady, 34. Chiefs, 31. He'll come down in the last 2 minutes. He'll kick a field goal to win.
Wow.
Ring number 7.
And then that cutout will be in Dave's bed by tonight sometime to sleep.
What about you, our good friend, Steve Givens?
Bears 110. Oh, sorry, wrong team. KC 32, Tampa Bay 27, my friend.
Okay.
I mean, I don't see how you can stop that Kansas City offense. Seriously, it's unstoppable, I think.
All right. Stomps, any predictions for us?
My prediction would be Chiefs 30-27, but I am pulling for the Bucs because I tend to like the older. This is a great storyline. The young gun Mahomes.
Yeah.
He's already he's got a Super Bowl under his belt against obviously the GOAT with Brady. So it's a great storyline. I think Mahomes is going to do it, but I would not count out the vaunted Tom Brady.
The GOAT.
Yeah. As long as he doesn't throw 3 or 4 interceptions in the
Right.
third quarter, right?
Right.
I'm guessing Carlo's like me and he's not going to throw out a prediction because I'm not. I'll predict that somebody will be victorious today. How's that?
Way to step out.
And the losers are all those who are watching the game who don't have herd immunity. Okay. All right. All right. I'm going to pass it on to my esteemed co-host, Stomps. You just let me know when you want me to flip the slides. It's all yours, brother. Take it over.
Well, before you
Thank you,
start,
Dave.
I just want to say, Nav and Dave, thanks for putting together that great deck. When I kept seeing those emails about, hey, that's an awesome deck, I was wondering, what, are we on a ship or what? What do you mean deck? I don't know what the hell he's talking about. The deck. So thanks for putting that together, Dave.
Pleasure's ours. Pleasure's ours.
And Nate.
It was all Dave's work. Take it away, Stomps.
Thank you, Nav. Obviously, we're really excited to have these guys on the show. It's been a long time in the making. We talked about this very early on. You know, Nav, as you and I, as a couple of chuckleheads, but, you know, we have a very inclusive show. We bring generations together. Here we are. We're not glory hounds by any stretch. Obviously, with the extremely brutal cold weather we're having outside, it's given the opportunity for us to corral one Dave Chmiel. It's actually too cold for snowboarding, ice fishing, cross-country skiing with his family.
Zumba.
Spenga. He's put the
Spenga.
Spenga aside, and he's gotten his priorities together to show up today to grace us with his presence.
It only took two seasons and 85 episodes to include us, but I appreciate it, Stomps. Thanks.
Oh, yeah.
And one
Okay,
session at the tanning bed for Dave.
yeah. So, Nav, obviously on the slide there, you know, Boomer Kramer couldn't make it. The guy is incredibly hardworking, blue-collar guy. He's at work right now. He couldn't join us. So we miss him on this broadcast, but hopefully he's tuning in.
Great.
Go on to the next slide. So yeah, what is a Toro, Dave? Well, these are the topics we're going to cover, right? So, you know, what is a Toro? We don't have to talk about it now because we have other slides on that. How did it begin? You could see the long history there, the esteemed history. We'll talk about loyalty and friendships, especially the friendships. I question some of them, so I like to throw some things out there and talk about tournaments, recent tournament history, and then Dave's top 5 all time, which I'm ready to challenge him on. Well, let's begin.
Thank you, sir. Next slide, please. There he is.
Okay.
For those Cub fans out there, there's a book by David Ross called Teammate. If I could do one for the Toros, it'd be Steve Givens. You couldn't get a better guy. He's the godfather to my firstborn. He works in the healthcare space and helps people every single day. So shout out to Steve. Thank you for everything you do in the healthcare community and everyone on this call that's in healthcare. Sometimes it's a thankless job and really appreciate all you do. Your taste in music is suspect.
Unfortunately, not good at hockey any longer, but other than that, since this is a hockey show, that's kind of a...
Hey, Steve.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, when did you first start playing with the Toros?
Boy, that's a good question. Dave, Dave, what are the stats on that? What are the years?
You joined the Toros in around 2006 when we moved to Salt Creek Sports Center.
That's it, 2006. Yes, I knew.
All right.
We've been friends since 91, but you didn't join us till 06.
Oh, okay.
So you're into your 15th year anniversary with the Toros. Tell us, Steve, about your recent return to play at Woodridge. you've been very enthusiastic about it, fired up for those Sunday games for a few weeks there. Tell us about your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was really great that you guys all set that up, Steve, and I know Stomps had a lot to do with setting that up, and it's a great place to play outdoors, nice on a Sunday morning to get up, get some exercise. The scoreboard they have, just an awesome place to play, and it was so much fun, especially here when we can't play indoors. It was great. I loved it.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh, what?
Carlo was chuckling there. Was that him?
Oh, I'm sorry, guys. I'm just looking at something else.
Oh,
Nice.
Hey, Steve.
He's messing with our show.
Hey, Steve
Yeah.
Givens. Do
Yes.
you want to share to the community how you and I became friends?
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, Nav, all throughout playing at Poplar Creek, I never really talked to Nav, and I wasn't sure what to think about the guy, or I won't discuss what I thought about the guy before I actually met him. But one day, I don't know what it was, one game, and we kind of bumped into each other in front of the net. I can't remember what, but we kind of went back and forth. And then we went back and forth with a pretty much F you, F you, F you, I'll kick your you know what, F you, F you. And then very heated. And then at the end of the game, we apologized to each other and, kind of a hug. I don't want to, and then we started talking, and now we're great friends. So you never know what can come out of a hockey type of, I've always told people, especially at work, when it comes to hockey, you get involved in a little skirmish with somebody. At the end of the game, you shake hands and all is well. And then you actually become their friend, which is kind of cool.
That story brings a tear to my eye, truly. Just incredible.
Tremendous.
How you guys manage that connection. That's beautiful. But Steve, we love you. What do you have a Toros nickname? And I ask you because, and I don't know if it's just me, I always refer to you as the old man, because you're the elder statesman, I think, in our community. Do you have another nickname?
I mean, I have another nickname in my whole life, but I don't have one from the Toros, and I don't want to talk about anybody else's team. But I thought it was kind of goof. Well, I don't want to express an opinion, but the one team came to some tournament or something with hashtag something or another on the back, hashtag Tom Terrific, hashtag skinny jeans or something like that. And Dave was trying to go with that. I said, Dave, if you do that, or he actually did that, right? With nicknames. I said, leave mine blank.
Yeah.
Leave mine blank. Right, Dave?
Old school.
Yeah. No, according to Billy Jacques, it's grandpa.
There you go. Well,
Shout
we love
out
the
to
great
Billy.
Steve Givens, and so
Thank you, guys.
let's go on. What do we got next here, Nav?
Yeah, we'll move that. For those of you at home, you're watching the pregame Super Bowl show, TNZ, episode 7 of season 2. We have 3 wonderful guests here, and Dave Chmiel, Steve Givens, and Carlo Basile, or is it Basile? We'll figure out pronunciation later on. Okay, back to you, Stomps.
Here we go. So what? Okay, so here's where I have some issues here. No,
50 championships. Come
exactly. Yeah, we'll talk about that. But Dave,
Okay.
how every team comes up with a name. You
Yep.
come up with it from. We like my old Lugags team has the weirdest history for that name. But what is a Toro? I mean, Toro is obviously a bull. We know what bulls are full of. But go ahead and give us the history there.
Well, before I get started, I do want to give a tremendous shout out to you and Nav. I've been playing ball hockey since I was 5. And I would say right before the pandemic, I sort of started to lose a little bit of love for the game. And first of all, your creative name of the neutral zone, and then what you guys have done the last year and a half in a pandemic when we couldn't play. You know, this is not supposed to be totally serious, right? Most of us did not make the NHL last I checked. So, you know, we're all guys that, you know, played a little hockey. Some of us have had great training like Troy and Derek, but, you know, I grew up learning in a tennis court. So I admit we're not
It
the greatest,
shows.
but the show has been amazing. So first of all, thank you for doing this. It takes a lot of work, a lot of effort. You have families, you have work, you have everything else. So kudos to both of you, first of all, and thanks for getting us on. This is all in fun, right? So I say that going in. In 1998, Johnny DeCheria, crew chief, Carlo.
By the way, we couldn't have Johnny on the show because
FCC.
we might get banished to YouTube Siberia. But go ahead.
So we all went up, Kirk Eder, we all went to a tournament in Troy, Michigan, and it was an outdoor tournament. And we were Team Chicago. I forget what our name was, but we made it to the finals. And on that team, there were about 7 players from a team called Mutiny. They were Hispanic, great players that played from the city. Carlo was there, I believe. And we made it to the finals. And
1998, you say?
Yep.
I can't
And
remember.
we actually won that championship because the other team failed to show up because they were too hungover. So I was playing on a team called La Habitante with Lou, Barry, all these older guys that eventually the Dogs. And they said, hey, you need to take this team over. So I brought all the Mutiny guys over. And I said, well, if we're primarily a Spanish team, we need a Spanish name. Hence the name Toros. That's where it came from.
Beautiful.
Brilliant.
Anyway,
Real quick question: is Carlo Spanish or Italian?
I'm Italian. I spent a lot of time in Spain, and because I play Spanish guitar, I've had to. Spanish is kind of like my second language, you know, in terms of travel and performance. So a lot of people confuse that. I get called Carlos all the time out there.
Yep.
Well, I would urge you to do your ancestry DNA or your 23andMe just to confirm that.
No, I
Everyone
did.
that comes on this show has to do that test.
I did. And you know what? It turns out I have some Syrian background too. So I've got there's some Arabic too going on.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
unbelievable. Yeah, in some of the previous segments, we've covered Stomps' diverse and illustrious DNA. Okay, back over to you guys. Sorry for the little segue.
so Stomps, to answer your question, I count a first place for the regular season as a championship, President's Trophy. So we have had,
Good for you. Good for you.
this will be our 4th decade. There's over 50 for sure.
Okay. If you say so, I mean, it's,
That sounds a little high to me, Dave.
thank you.
Okay, that's all right. Go
Moving
ahead.
on.
You probably know more than you count. I don't know.
Moving on.
Hey, Carlo, I'm going to give back to Stomps. Carlo, listen, thanks for clarifying the Carlo and the Carlos. That's important. There is another Carlo by the name of Carlo Zakorski.
Yes.
Plays with us on Sunday mornings in Woodridge. He's another veteran player, good defenseman. Just wanted to make sure that I connected the two of you. And secondly, good news for Carlo. He'll be vaccinated this coming Wednesday.
All right,
Nice.
Carlo.
The
All
other
right.
Carlo.
Back over to you, Stomps.
Let's go to that next slide, Davey. Yeah, so here you go.
So
The meat of the rivalry, but go ahead, Dave.
that's all right. I didn't have any pictures of our Mutiny boys, but I spent a short time with the Gargoyles. So I had Clint, Todd Vogler, the Caleros. I brought them over to the Toros with Tony, Tommy, Nick Lasasso, Carlo. And that's when the Raider rivalry was born. Kirk Eder was running that team. And this is a true story. In 2001, I believe, Frank Klein approached me and said, I want to be a Toro. And I made a big mistake and said, you know what, Frank, we got too many guys. So Frank could have been a Toro, true story. He then took over captaining the Raiders and built a tremendous dynasty. So Frank, you should have been a Toro. My mistake. My bad, brother.
Frank, feel free to make a comment on that in the Facebook chat. We'd love
Yeah,
to hear
whether
your
it's
reaction.
true or not. Yeah, we don't. We want to test the validity of that statement.
Exactly. But I just to be a little bit serious here, because I got into the Raider Toro rivalry a little bit late. I was facing the Toros as a Lugag
Yeah.
many years. And I got to say this, guys, in all sincerity, whether I was on the Lugags or the Raiders, I always looked forward to a game against the Toros because you guys know how to play the game. We always knew there would be no nonsense. It would just be really good hockey. Always go down to the wire, usually, with some exceptions, but great hockey games between those teams and the Toros. Really enjoyable.
Yeah, and Stomps, if that image in the back of the score is not cropped in of the score, that wouldn't be one where you're talking about a close game, right?
Well,
I will say one thing. I do want to thank people like Carlo, Tommy Maroc, Steve Grass, the heart of the Toros for 30 years. There's a lot of guys in this picture that could have played for anybody else. You know, there's a lot of better goalies. A lot of other teams tried to take them, and they stayed loyal. So thank you for that. Despite
more or less. I did play.
You did leave for a short time.
Well, the thing about it, one thing I like about Dave is he's like the nicest guy. You know, I know Steve isn't going to say, well, maybe he did, I don't know, but Dave is like the nicest guy that I know, pretty much in the world.
Wow.
And so if I said to him, "Hey,
He's
Dave,
going
I'm
to start
try,
crying.
Yeah, I'm going to play a session with da 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 because I just want to play with this one player or play on it." He was always cool about that because in the end he knew we'd always end up on the same team anyway. So yeah, there were times when we jumped around a little bit, but for the most part, I think we stayed together for the whole time.
Right. No, thank you, Carlo, for that. And for about 4 years at Poplar Creek, the only teams that won that championship were the Raiders or the Toros. So it was a great rivalry.
hey, Chmiel, talk a little bit about the picture on the left. Just go real quickly through the guys in that particular photo.
So bottom left, you've got Carlo.
Right.
You've got Clint Vogler. You've got Tommy Maruck. You've got Billy Fitz, who just retired about 5 years ago from ComEd.
Right.
Nick Lasasso, Steve Grass, Brian, the vaunted Ganutek,
Right.
the fire plug from our team. Tony Rossalilli, if he wasn't beating people up, he was playing hockey. And Todd Vogler, Clint's brother.
You know, I know you like to talk about the friendships, and not to put you a little bit on the spot, but what are your thoughts when you're there in goal, you give up a goal, and likes of Tony or even a Dante have a few choice words?
Well, I've been playing ball hockey since '98 there, and there's 3 players that get on me the most. There's one guy who would get on me the most. Everybody knows Tony would yell at me more than any player. He'd ask me if I went to Pearl Vision at least twice a week. And then Dante, the last 10 years, Dante replaced Tony when he retired. I mean, Dante, and those are 2 of my best friends, yet they got on me the hardest because they knew I could play better. And actually, the last 5 years, Dan Bruner, who I think is one of the best players ever, he would yell, Chmiel, get up, because everyone knows Dave's on the ground half the time. So, you know, just amazing players, but they always had my back, which I appreciate that loyalty for sure.
Did they make you a better goalie?
Actually, I play better when someone says nice save, but I sort of tuned them out for a while because I knew it was coming.
Sure.
When I would win,
Positive feedback.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
Awesome.
go ahead. Sorry, my daughter's in the background. Go ahead, Stomps.
Stomps, you want me to keep moving, or you have?
Sure. Yeah, please.
It wouldn't be fair if we didn't talk about Ganutek here just for a second. I noticed he has an A on his jersey.
Right.
Jeez. What is
Tell us a little
that?
about the decision-making pattern or process you had in making him an A, and where is the C? Who's got the C? Did you just have 2 A's?
So on that team, Nick Lasasso was an alternate captain. See, I played with Nick and Brian at Franklin Park on a team called I think we're Chicago's Fantas. And
No cursing.
oh yeah, and so on there we had a long-standing friendship. So Brian would run the offense and Nick would run the D. So they were alternate captains, and
Okay.
and they didn't, as you know, they both spoke their minds. So I figured, well, on the bench they're going to speak up, and they were strong personalities. So
Sure.
as it got older, you know, Carlo and Dante became the best captains the last 10 years. I mean, their experience and, everyone needed to listen to those guys. But in the beginning, it was those two guys for sure.
And I'll just have to say one thing, and we can move to the next slide. Carlo, you are definitely a trailblazer, and you were social distancing even in this picture, like 20 years before COVID. Like, look at where you're standing, and you're always, with a fashion statement, wearing a different outfit, whether it's your long sleeves on your shirt or your actual jersey. So kudos to you for being a trailblazer and preventing the virus 25 years ago.
I was thinking that. Ahead of my time.
Yeah.
All right, Stomps, back to you, brother.
So this is proof right here of no 50 championships. Because if you changed the slide, come on.
Yes,
You
we
had
did.
it was the same picture that was up there.
I knew you'd call me
Dave, I
out.
told you to leave it the same. Whatever. I have nothing to say.
So in 2006, do you guys remember a team called the Storm that played for like 2 sessions?
Yes.
Good.
So we probably beat them 2 or 3 times. Jeremy DeCheria lit them up. Clint. I mean, that goalie was amazing. I remember Keith Kreitzer scored an overtime goal in the 3rd overtime to win 2-1. That was one of the best teams we ever faced, but they didn't stay long. So at Salt Creek, it was either the Raiders or the Foxhounds. In the beginning, the Foxhounds could never beat us. But as they progressed, they got better and better. And obviously they're the class of the league now, but they're a formidable.
Well, class being the operative word there.
Yes. Well, their talent's amazing for sure. So go ahead. Stomps.
I have nothing else to say about this slide that you had to change it.
Hey,
Well, there's
real quick, we have a caller on the line,
Oh boy.
and they're going to remain anonymous. However, we have spoken about him in the last 15 minutes. He has a question for you. And it's an important one for you, and I think it's perfect for Dave Chmiel. Have the Toros permanently disbanded? And if not, why are they not stepping up to play in the NBHL? So you can guess who that question is coming from.
I know where that's coming from.
So the Toros have not disbanded. That's the beauty of this team. We're working on our 4th decade. When Salt Creek comes back up, the draft league will be back with Los Toros. And the tournament, when Frank does it again in January, that Toros team will be back. It'll be our 5th one with him. But going down to the city, that's a tough ask for some of our guys. I mean, it's a Sunday. We have families. And as Stomps knows, we're all doing soccer and dance and all this other. It's a really tough ask on Sundays. So that's
You're right, Dave. Nobody else has families. You're right.
And that's Dave. He's the one doing the dance. It's himself. Not even the kids.
So that's really why. It's hard to get my guys to go on a Sunday afternoon, to be honest, into the city. So
And I hope we don't have to wait until next January to have our local tournament. Hopefully we'll do something in this 2021 later on.
Well, for the caller who asked that question, I hope that satisfies you. And if not, again, Stomps checks that suggestion box regularly, and he'll be able to see if you were not satisfied with that answer. And I'll move to the next slide.
So this slide is really important, I think, for a few reasons. The one thing I learned, when I look at parties that we have, everyone knows I love to have a Christmas and summer party. When I go big events, the majority of people at these events are my hockey friends. And I can't say enough about the friendships I've developed, both for Toros and non-Toros. I mean, the far left, the retired Toro, Jim LeBee, who's a Chicago police officer, Givens, me, Tommy, Kramer. We went to Nashville. Derek and Dante were there. I mean, it was a great time. And then I'd say over the last 10 years, the bond that the Toros and Bearcats have created with Bobby D and Mitch and Kish, we combine our golf outings to benefit a charity every year now. I mean, during a pandemic, we had over 85 golfers. I mean, the Bearcats are an incredible team. It's all about friendships. And here's the thing. Frank Klein brought this up last week. In order to get better, we need to evolve, right? Well, the good and the bad for the Toros, say what you want, is that we evolved, but I was extremely loyal. So I kept people like me. You can find a better goal.
I think we Schimmel's got locked up there.
Uh-oh.
if you go back on Nav,
Sure.
if Dave calls evolving the Bearcats and the Toros consuming 20 cases of alcohol instead of 15 the previous year, that would be evolving.
Well, and also we got old too, right? So,
Yeah, we did evolve. Yeah,
wondering
old.
what happened to the Toros, man. We just got old. That's about it.
Yeah, you're right, Carlo.
Hey, Dave, hopefully you can reconnect with us because you are having technical difficulties.
I think Steve could take over.
He's got, he dropped off. He's probably trying to call back in again. So, all right, keep going then, Stomps. Ask a question and Dave will be back on, I'm sure.
I'm not quite sure why you have a close-up of me in the slide. I told you I'm not a glory hound.
All right, Dave's calling me. Let me see what he wants to say to the group.
It looks like the photo in the
Dave,
middle.
you're on speakerphone. What's your problem? Cheap Wi-Fi that you bought there? The low cut?
Are you guys still on? Yes.
Stomps? Yes, we're still on. You're
Yeah.
not. What happened, buddy? What? He's gonna try again.
Great.
Lucky he figured that out.
Well, while we're waiting for him to come back, I just want everybody to know you're watching the pregame show for the Super Bowl 21. You are tuned into the Neutral Zone TNZ Season 2, Episode 7, where we have 3 spectacular guests. Dave Chmiel, who seems to have mysteriously disappeared, but I believe that's
Cheap Wi-Fi.
and Steve Givens, one part of the NWO. And then obviously we have Carlo with us as well. We thank you all. We hope you're enjoying this episode. We're going to continue to get through it. So as we wait for there we go. We wait for Chmiel to return. Does anyone want to talk about this slide here?
Well, I think what Dave wanted to go through here was this is the last 3 years of Legends tournaments with the Toros, and
I'm back.
How there were 2 trips to the finals that ended in defeat before January of 2020. So Dave, can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this question about these Legend tournaments.
Yes.
Two losses in the finals and then a victory last year. Talk about it.
Sure. So, I think it was 2018, right? We faced Lou's team in the finals and we lost. Dave Nelson played tremendous. And then in 2019, we played a team from Iowa and we had a lead with 37 seconds left. We gave the puck up and they scored and we lost in overtime. But last year, with a team with an average age of 50 and older, we beat a bunch of kids that were around 22 years old. And, from Big Mike's goal to Johnny and Jeremy lighting the lamp to Dan Lauer's game-winning goal, it was a tremendous victory.
Great goaltending, too. I mean, you really shined at that particular tournament.
Thanks, bro. And by the way, you had two generations of ball hockey. You had Derek and his dad,
Right.
Mark. You had the Gleasons,
Right.
Joe and Patty, and you had
Johnny and Jeremy.
Johnny and Jeremy. I mean, think about that. That's tremendous.
Really is. That's why we say bringing generations together.
Exactly.
Kind of like Folgers, the best part of waking up. That'll be our new tagline.
Very cool. Well, and I know that you kind of touched on that, but that is a close-up of Stomps. Can you tell me a little bit why you chose that photo?
Well, first of all, my cropping of Stomps and I holding the championship trophy was weak, but I want to remind Stomps that he is a Toro at least once a year.
There you go. Yeah, I can say that I am for sure. Go ahead.
Very good. Very good. All right. So this is a list.
Here we go.
You gotta forgive me in advance. I know you had a couple of ads, but you're gonna have to verbally share them. I know we've kind of went back and forth. I think I got your ads, but if I didn't, please feel free. How do you want to unveil this? You want to start first with your offense?
I mean, I think it does. And can you go like line by line, Nav?
That's exactly what we're gonna do, brother. I did the animation for you. So
So I'm going to preface this by saying, no offense to anyone that's not on this list, but this is just my personal belief since the 90s, who I think the top players are, and I'm a little biased. So nobody, please.
You
be
better
offended.
have Carlo on there since he's on the show here, Dave.
Well, we'll
All
see.
right. Let's go with your number 5. So this is from we're gonna go. It's like a countdown. So number 5.
You know what? I can't see it. Oh, let's see. So offense. So number 5, I played on a team called the Agers in Franklin Park. Carl Savino was the best captain I've ever seen. When you ever needed a goal, he scored. And one of the newest members of the Toros, Eddie Urban. I think that kid's got a bright future, and he's a two-way player. You watch. He's going to become the next Clint Vogler. Next. Dan
Wow.
Bruner. I think Dan Bruner is the 4th best player I've ever seen out there. He scores a goal from anywhere. He'll shoot from the bathroom if he's got a shot, but he gets it in. I mean, the guy's amazing. Whether he's in tournaments in Pittsburgh or in Palatine, he's a sniper. He's amazing.
Yeah, and I noticed he played on Wednesday on the regularly scheduled Wednesday games, and he brought his 11-year-old son. I think he's going to start to tally some more assists as well, because I know we're talking about him as a goal scorer, but he was passing to his son, which was a nice thing to see.
Exclusively. Go ahead.
Number 3, the all-time goal scorer at Woodridge, and at one time he was called Baby Clint, but Timmy is, prior to his knee injuries, and even now, the kid's incredible. I mean, he's not a kid anymore, but Timmy's talent was just tremendous. So Timmy, you don't play much D, but offensively, you're incredible, brother.
Timmy's coming out for the Masters, and let me just say, I hope he makes the tournament because it'll really help. He's got so much to offer, and he's a great passer.
He is
Yeah,
great.
absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Number 2, there he is, Carlo. Carlo, I wasn't young enough to watch you and Mario play together, but I heard you guys were the best. And since I've been playing with you since 98, there's not a better leader. And when the game's on the line, knows what to do, whether it's score a goal or kill a penalty. And, from a pure leadership standpoint, I'll take you over anybody, Carlo. I think you're the best. So
Well,
thank you.
Let me just say that I've been lucky to play with these really great guys because I've always found like the Timmys and the Freddys and the Marios and even Clint. We played on a line together. It's hard not to be good when you're playing with really good players.
And what you're doing at your age too, I mean, it's incredible, really. You're like Tom Brady of floor hockey.
Thanks, man.
Well,
And
you know
no
what number
surprise,
1
my
was
love
going to be.
affair with Clint. I mean,
Right.
for those of you who've seen Clint Vogler, I think Clint, hands down, from a talent standpoint and goal scoring, when he played, there's nobody better than Clint. I mean, he was the most explosive scorer I've ever seen. I don't know. I mean, most of you have seen him play. You can beg to differ, but the guy's amazing.
A great passer too. I don't think he gets credit for that a lot, but he knew if he'd pull that goalie and then slide it over, and you'd be left with an empty net. You know about that, Stomps.
Well, the thing with Clint you can't teach is his length. He was so tall and he had such a reach. It was insane to try and stop him. But let me clarify with you, Dave.
Yes, sir.
Is this a top 5 list all-time ball hockey players or top 5 list all-time Toros? Because I see a pattern here.
Well, this is where the controversy is going to start.
Toros, right?
He did say he was impartial, right? I mean, so.
I think.
Well, he said he had bias.
Yeah.
And I'm pointing it out. And I'm going to keep pointing it out.
I am. I'll admit I'm biased to Toro players. This is who I think all-time player. Like Carl didn't play for the Toros. So this is all-time players.
Well, he's connected to I count him as a Toro. Go ahead.
Okay.
In fairness to Dave, as a goalie, he's watching his own team more than anybody else.
Of course.
Agreed. Defense. Number 5. Dave Nails Mays. I played with Davey when he was with the Agers. I've seen him on the Bearcats. He played on the Toros a short time. I mean, not only could he beat anybody up, but the guy was tremendous as a goal scorer and in the boards. I mean, he was incredible. I know, Carlo, you can attest, the guy was an amazing player. And Derek, I think Derek is, I know he played ice hockey. The guy's incredible. So that's number 5 all time. I couldn't pick. 4, Chelly. He's not a Toro.
Finally. So
Chelly is, he's a talent. He's still tremendous. And he's got one of the sweetest shots. He's like the Will Clark of ball hockey. His shot is so cool. So, Chelly, my hat's off to you, brother. The Hammer, Jeremy DeCheria, only because he hasn't played enough games, but he was MVP of the last tournament Frank had. And by the way, kudos to Frank. You run a hell of a tournament, brother. Great job. Jeremy's shot, but he actually hits the net. Jeremy's a great player, and he's my number 3. Crew chief, Johnny DeCheria, number 2. We were at a tournament near Soldier Field. I think, Carlo, you were there. The Rio Chris Chelios did a shot that was gauged at 96 miles an hour, and I think Johnny's went over 100. So never have I faced a harder shot in my life, and you couldn't get a sweeter guy and a more loyal teammate than John DeCheria. And defensively, he's incredible. So, and number 1, Chris Calero. Again, a little partial to my Gargoyles there, but, he played for Notre Dame. The guy was, I just think from both leadership and scoring a goal when you need it and defensively.
I have a scoop on Chris Calero. I just talked to him on the phone, and I'm going to try to get him out for the Masters. He had a little health scare, and he's got himself back to his high school weight. And so we were talking about, this will interest you, Nav. We were talking about all these health issues, and
Sure.
He's back to his high school weight, and I'm hoping he's going to come out in the next couple of weeks, because if we can get him back on the Masters, we would have probably one of the best, maybe the best offensive defenseman I've ever played with.
Agree with you.
It's amazing.
Hey,
Thanks,
Dave.
Carlo. Yeah.
With picks, with Johnny and Jeremy there as top picks, are you expecting all you can eat pancakes soon or something like that? Part of that?
Tremendous. Absolutely, Stomps.
Is there
Can't wait
an
to go back to-
honorable mention for Tony Rossi on that defensive
Yeah,
list?
Tony is like, he's up there like a 5C. Yes, Tony Ross
Okay.
should be there as
Just
well.
wanted to check.
Tony, you like to have in your corner when the going gets tough, if you know what I mean.
Oh, without a doubt. Yeah.
Tony, it's not on this list, but Tony, you actually get the best teammate award because nobody ever had my back more than you, even though you yelled at me the most.
Well,
Next.
we're all tuned in here to the Neutral Zone, season 2, episode 7. Let's get to the men behind the mask.
Yes, number 5 goalie. Now keep in mind, I realize there's plenty of goalies I didn't play with. I don't even remember the Gargoyles and the goalie name. Explosion was Bobby Esposito. He was great, but I'd say in the last 15 years, Joe Coletta, number 5, he stood the test of time. Consistent. He can always pull a game out for you, and he's a great dynamo goalie.
Nice
Number
guy,
4,
too, Joey.
he is. Bobby D. I think Bobby, as you've gotten older, you've gotten better. Consistently, he's always there. He's a fighter, and he became a Toro. We did a tag team last year, and he won the championship. I couldn't make that game, and he played phenomenal. So, Bobby, my hat's off to you.
Bobby's running half marathons and keeping himself in really good shape too.
Oh, wow. Good. It shows, Carlo. I mean, he's looking pretty chiseled. Good stuff.
Number 3, Dave Nelson. Nelson, he's got a smaller sample size, but I'll tell you a quick story. I was on the Gargoyles. We won 2 championships, and then we faced Nelson in the finals, and he beat us 2-1. 2 days later, I got a call from my captain that said, Dave, we're going in a different direction. And guess who they picked? Dave Nelson. Nelson he's always on point. He's always in right position. And I think from a skill level, he's one of the best I've ever seen. Now, Troy has a smaller sample size, and from a talent level, I don't think there's ever been a better goalie for ball hockey. And now when he plays in tournaments, he always wins. But Troy's going to be number 2 because he doesn't have the longevity of my number 1 goalie. But Troy, ultimately, you're probably going to be the best ball hockey goalie we've ever seen. You just haven't played enough. But from a skill standpoint, you're the best.
Should we
Number
have a
one?
drum roll? Should we have a
Number one is
Drum
the
roll.
Dino.
Number one goalie of all time, in my opinion, is Billy Jocks. Consistency from start to finish, and people can say that there's better goalies from a skill level, but whenever there's a tournament, 9 times out of 10 they're going to win, and he's going to steal a game for you. I faced him in multiple championships, and did I get the better of him? Not much. Billy Jocks, in my opinion, you are the best ball hockey goalie I've ever faced, and I'll say that forever. And you know, you're in your 40s and still doing it.
Let me
My
say
hat's off to you.
he did a great job the last time we went out to Philly. We're talking about going to Philly to play in the Masters. Well,
Yep.
Billy stood on his head. He got better as the tournament went on.
Yep.
Beat a team from Boston they looked like the Boston Bruins, and they had 2 goalies. And Billy just kept getting better and better in that tournament. And you know, without, as everybody knows, we're going to talk about this. When you go to a tournament, your goalie can't be giving up more than 2 goals a game if you want to win that tournament.
No doubt.
Billy was awesome.
Hey,
Yeah,
Dave,
so
I'm going to give you a few more goalies. That's a great list. These are guys I played with years ago. Gerard Justino,
yes, great goalie.
really an excellent goalie. Great athlete, felled by injuries. Danny Grasny, another guy who injured his hip. He was a tremendous goalie.
He was.
And then we got to give kudos and thanks to Dante. I don't know why I forgot this guy, but Bobby Gorky, who played on our teams at Poplar,
Yes,
really was good.
he was.
He may. I'm not gonna. But Bobby, well, let's just say he was an interesting cat. But he was he cared, and he was a great goaltender. But this is a really good list.
My number one of all time is, because this will show my age, was Chico from the original team Chicago.
Wow.
He was a wall, and he gave up a goal from center ice, and he walked off the floor about 25 years ago and never put on equipment again. But when we went to Canada, in Mississauga, he was given the MVP of. We went to the B division of, and this wasn't Masters, this was regular B division. We took second place. He shut out a team from Canada that had never been shut out in their existence. They gave him Chico the MVP of that tournament.
Wow.
And I've never seen a goalie be more of a wall than that guy, especially when the chips were down. Obviously this is 25 years he hasn't played, but he was my ultimate number one tournament goalie.
Would he come out of retirement, you think?
You got to find him first.
All right. Let's go to your teams, Chmiel.
All right, top 5 teams. Number 5. I got to give the Toros, considering our longevity. You know, we got 4 decades, multiple championships, and we won a championship in 2020. So if we hadn't won that, I wouldn't have put us there. But we never have the best talent, in my opinion, overall, but we have heart, and sometimes that pulls you over the edge. So number 5, the Toros. 4, Explosion. I remember when I first started Poplar Creek, Louis and his team, they were about as intimidating as you could get with the Mazes and Carlo and Teach and Jesse. I mean, that team was unbelievable. So really hard to beat. Number 3, I think the Raiders. I mean, what Kirk and Billy and Frank Klein have done over the last 4 decades. I mean, they built a powerhouse that keeps winning. They get the best players, and they get younger every year, and they do it right. If they want to win, I mean, they
Thanks
just
a lot.
win, baby. They're great.
Really appreciate that.
Sorry, Stomps.
You go on.
Sorry. Number 2, the Gargoyles. When they had their heyday, I don't think they lost the championship except to Explosion. I mean, they never lost. So, except for the one I played goal for them, right? I mean, they were phenomenal with Clint and Todd and everybody. Number 2. And number 1, so I played for the Agers in Franklin Park, and this is predating a lot of people, but I played 80 games for them, and we were 79-1. I mean, they never lost. You could put a garbage can in net clearly, and they would still win. So I remember the game we lost, Carl came up to me and said, "Kid, what's wrong with you? Are you all right?" I mean, they never lost. It was a shoebox for a rink, and they won multiple. And Gerard would know, and Mazuka, and all those goalies. Carlo, I don't know if you
Joe Mazuka.
did you play with them, Carlo, ever?
I didn't play in Franklin Park, but Stomps will remember we had a good team at Oriole Park.
Yes.
And the original, everybody knows Mr. Skin. His name is Jim McBride, and he's a great hockey player. Jim McBride and I played on a line together, and he's still,
That's hilarious.
He's still in great shape. I can't get him to come play hockey, but he's Mr. Skin. He's on Howard Stern every week. He doesn't have to do this.
Hey, Dave, this is amazing. So 2 of the top 5 teams in your estimation were teams you anchored in goal, yet you didn't put yourself in the top 5 of goalies. Please explain. I think you did, actually, but go on.
I think
I'm just teasing.
the key to my success over the years, there have been a couple games where maybe I stole it, but I put myself with good players around me, quite frankly. I mean, I got lucky a few times too, but it's the people around me. That's why the Toros kept winning, not because of Dave's. And there are a lot of people would say the Toros won in spite of Dave, and I agree with that. I mean, my teammates were the best, and I really mean that. I mean, I've had some good games, but the teammates is why the Toros won. I mean, not Dave, the team.
Dave, I'm just kidding. I mean, you sell yourself short, but hockey is the ultimate team game, and it's really, I mean, that's how you win.
Right.
Let's be honest. I mean, it's, deep rosters and, talented guys and girls these days. Yeah, definitely.
Stomps, I'm gonna do a quick time check here. So let's keep moving, if that's okay, Stomps.
Yeah.
I'll talk about this slide and criteria and why you chose this team, Chmiel.
So my 2 favorite teams of all time that I've ever faced were both Dynamo and the Bearcats, and they're for 2 big reasons. Both those teams, if you ever watch their posts on Facebook and what they do outside of hockey, they're true friends. They truly like playing with each other. Isn't this what it's all about, guys? I mean, I know we're getting together to go to Philly and the Masters and we want to win, but the friendships are what it's all about. And that's why I'm still playing. And, I just kudos to what you and Stomps have built, man, that Dynamo team in short order. You were winning before the pandemic because of your chemistry, 100%. And the Bearcats, I mean, you can't get a funner group to hang out
The
with.
next slide,
I'll
man.
get to the next slide. I just want to thank Carlo for being such a leader. He taught Keith how to do social distancing.
Yeah. And they wouldn't let Dave on the show unless he put that Dynamo slide in the deck. So.
And there's your Bearcats. Bobby D, great job. Mitch, Kish, you guys are a lot of fun, brother. That's all I got there.
And is that orange ball at the front? Is that the winning ball? Is that the?
I don't know.
Look at
I
that.
actually think there's like 4 kegs behind them, but you just
Yeah.
can't see them.
That's true.
Can't see 'em.
All right, let's have some fun here.
Oh boy.
Oh boy. Where's Carlo?
Carlo, what do you think of my choices for top bands of all time?
Well, let's just say I'm not surprised. I've been to parties at your house, so this is what I pretty much expected.
I just like the way he throws in the Stones to give himself some credibility.
Right, exactly. Right. Where's the weekend on there, Dave?
Who's the lead singer? Who's the lead singer of Poison again, Steve?
Brett
Michaels.
Oh yeah, that was okay. That I knew. Okay, he's there. Okay.
Is my video on?
Yeah.
That's my Brett Michaels impersonation right there.
Oh,
Really nice.
it's spot on. Yep.
I was at a concert. I was at a Stones concert. He was in front of me, like the seat in front of me with Pamela Anderson at the time.
For real?
Nice.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Kim and I were singing because we know the Stones songs, but they didn't know the lyrics. They kept looking at us. Funny.
That's funny.
Yeah.
All right. We're good. Next slide, Nick.
Good.
I know we got short on time.
Well,
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everybody.
Stomps, you want to say anything about these guests before we kind of move into the next topic?
No, this was a lot of fun. A lot of work went into this. A lot of time getting this pulled together, and happy we could make it happen. And you could have had. I mean, you could have literally had any number of Toros on this show. We just it's just too hard to manage with high numbers of people. So I hope they understand that, but hopefully they got a kick out of it.
Yeah, and Dave, if you could, the rest of you guys, if you guys could be just so kind as, there's a lot of people on your list, offense, defense, goalies. There's a bunch of Bearcats guys, Dynamo guys. I know some people are at different levels of social media usage. If you could send them the link to the show and, even encourage them to subscribe, because it's not the first and it certainly won't be the last that we welcome these great players on the show. And if we don't talk about them at some point, we'd love to include them in one of our segments. But speaking of segments, so Carlo and I have been talking over the last few days, actually for the last few years.
I have the same shirt on, I noticed. Okay.
Yeah. He only has, he doesn't have only just one shirt.
That's it. Right.
But hey, listen, there's been a lot of work going into this Masters tournament that's coming up. And first, I just want to recognize, obviously, there's been a lot of communication with Frank the last few days, posting on the Team Chicago app, just about, keeping everybody updated on what's going on. I think, a testament to him and the management team, particularly him for, the transparency and giving everybody a set of expectations for the tournament. And then also there's a lot of work going on behind the scenes. And I've been sort of privy to some of that in terms of making sure that we manage the roster, making sure that we're inclusive and transparent. So kudos to that. Just, Dante has been part of that, as has Eddie Switek and Joe Gleason, helping out Frank on that. So respect to all of them for their efforts. But speaking of the Masters, and this is what Carlo and I have been talking about, as you get older and, you get responsibilities in your life, your body is not only experiencing a slowdown in terms of metabolism, but it becomes a lot less forgiving. Injuries are a lot more persistent, and they're a lot more stubborn in terms of recovery. So there's a couple of things. We're going to talk about a few things with Carlo today, but it's not Carlo telling us what to do. It's us embracing the love of the game. And the message out here that I want to share with everybody is, if you really love the game and you're putting time and effort to go out there and play, whether it's Wednesdays, Fridays, Sundays, Tuesdays, and then these tournaments, I think it's in all of our best interest to possibly consider how we can be better prepared and how we can play the game that we love for longer. And I'll tell you, I'll be a test case for you, Carlo. I'm motivated by some of the things you do and say, and you do it in such a non-threatening way. But for me, I want to get ready for this tournament, and I wanted to sort of pass it back to you in terms of some of the things you do or recommend to all of us. And I know there's different people at different points in their journey and health and everything like that, but I'll tell you, I'd love to be a test case for you and talk a little bit about in today's installment of Carlo's Corner.
Stomps, you're chuckling already.
You have to always laugh. Man, it's so serious. It's hilarious. I'm sorry.
Okay. Well, I'll be in the middle. How's that? Because I'm kind of half serious about this.
No, it's good stuff. Go ahead.
No, it's good stuff because, a lot of guys have gotten injured over the years and have asked me how I've gotten over injuries. Freddie had a big injury recently. We talked about things he could do. Nav has come up to me. Billy, a few others have come up to me recently, just say, "Hey, man, you look like you're in good shape. What are you doing?" So Terry McMahon is almost a Masters. He's not quite at that age yet, but he's running 100-mile trail races and he's doing a lot of things. And I've enjoyed training with Terry a little bit. So I get with the younger guys. That's a good tip right there. And basically, you set some goals for yourself. I put them in the chat. So my goals were, when I play hockey, is endurance. So I'm looking to still be good at the end of the game or at the end of a tournament on Sundays, which is like the most important day. I'm looking to have endurance. So how do I build that up? I'm looking for flexibility. I know a lot of guys go for strength. I'm a guy who's, has avoided the corners for most of his career and tiptoe around out there, as you know, Stomps. And but I'm flexible, and that's kind of key to a lot of the moves and a lot of the plays I like to make. And then the biggest one for everybody at our age is to avoid injury, right? We want to do things to our body so that when we go out to play hockey and we make a hockey move, it doesn't equal an injury of 3 to 4 months. It might be a twisted ankle that lasts only a couple of days as opposed to a long-term injury, right? So those are the things I'm looking for. You guys with me so far?
Yep, absolutely.
Yep.
Great.
So my brother happens to work with college athletes, and one of the things that they look at is your resting heart rate. A lot of us have the Apple Watch. There are other devices that people are wearing these days to monitor these things. And it turns out at any age, you can lower your resting heart rate to, mine's in like the 40s because I run so much. My resting heart rate is probably like 45 or somewhere in there. And that type of a thing is an indicator as to your overall health. If your resting heart rate goes up, chances are you might have a cold or you might be getting sick. And they even noticed this with COVID. People who have COVID, who have gotten it, have their resting heart rate goes way up because you're working harder to overcome this. So it's a good indicator. So low resting heart rate is a good indicator of your overall health.
And what's a reasonably, I know we're talking about a population that's a little, we got some guys in their 40s, 50s, and 60s. What's a pretty decent resting heart rate? I know some of this is genetically predetermined, Carlo, but
but not entirely. This could be fixed at any age, which is pretty interesting.
Okay.
So there are my brother runs a spinning class. He's got a woman in her 70s, late 70s, almost 80, who's got a better resting heart rate than some of the guys in there in her 30s. So it can be worked with, and basically that comes from cardio work. That comes from doing some short bursts. If you don't like to do a long run, for instance, you can do those little high intensity workouts where you sprint for 10 seconds and then jog for like 20 seconds and then sprint. I put some links up here in the chat, and you guys.
I got those links, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to share those on the Facebook page, as well as I'm going to put those links in the YouTube comments section, Carlo, because you talk about diet, injury recovery. You give some things around belly calories and ab workouts, yoga, which I think is tremendous in terms of the flexibility that you talked about as well.
Well, some people don't want to talk about all the spiritual side of yoga, and I don't really. That's not so important to me either. I do a little bit of meditation when I start, just to get my head in the right space. But for the most part, I do it for physical gain. And I have a yoga thing where I don't do a 2-hour yoga class. I do about 20 minutes a day to prep for my running or for my hockey. So I'm bending my ankles. I'm bending. Really, the hips are some of the most important things. That's where that protects our knees. Our strong hips protects our knees. So I'm working with a lot of hip movements and squats and things like that to prepare myself to go out. So then when I go out to perform, whether it's running or playing hockey, I'm avoiding injury. And that's really where it all comes from. It's just preparation. So the yoga isn't like, I'm doing some guru thing at all. It's just like I need to do some stretching. You can call it Pilates or you can call it stretching. It's all the same. You got to get your body ready to do what you really want to do.
But Carlo, may I just jump in there? If I could just tie it back to intention, and I know you said that, it's not the spiritual side maybe for everybody. Maybe it is for some people, and I don't want to put words in people's mouth. But if you identify an intention, sometimes when you do these yoga classes, they start off and they say, hey, what's your intention and all that. But if your intention is to play hockey and your intention is to be good at it and play for a longer period of time, you can almost set yourself up for success by going into a lot of these things by initially setting up that intention. And I think that's something that could resonate with our clientele here, or our community. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, you could say intention or you can say goals. And that's the first thing I have in the chat up there is set goals. So you have to set goals for yourself. Is there something you want to do? Like just what you're doing, you told me that you've just been monitoring so that the app that we're talking about, which one are you using?
I'm using the MyFitnessPal. I literally just started it after we talked.
Yeah, and that MyFitnessPal app is good because what it does is it allows you to monitor your calories in by what you're eating and then what you're expending by your exercise. And it will tell you how much you can have. So if you want to eat a big dinner, that's no problem. If you've worked out during the day, that will be offset by the calories, So it's nice to see those things. And it also is nice to see in terms of what you're actually eating. I don't want to go on a whole food thing today, but I will just say, in general, I avoid processed foods. Processed foods. It's, we grew up with it. My mom is a great Italian cook, but I can tell you she probably uses 50% of what she uses. I don't really think is the healthiest thing because it's processed food, so it's great to eat. I love Italian food, and I'm sure you do, Stomps. And I mean, the difference between something you prepare at home with fresh tomatoes versus going to Olive Garden or something, right? I mean, that's basically what we're talking about. It's like food, I don't care where you go or what you like to eat, as long as it's fresh, whatever it is. And that's more expensive these days. It's more expensive to get good produce, right? It's more expensive to do that, but I think it's worth it. So what you're putting in your body, whatever you want to put in, meat, fish, whatever, just make sure it's good and make sure it's fresh. That's all I'm saying when it comes to food. I have specific things I've honed in on. I put them in the chat there. Those things I try to eat a number of times a week, on any given week, because I enjoy those things. And that's about it. So it's basically a modified Mediterranean diet is what I would say.
Right. No,
Well,
that's
the
fantastic.
reason though,
Go ahead, Stomps.
I was just gonna say, there's a reason those people live into their hundreds.
Well, plus they're walking up hills all day. We don't do that so much in our culture, Stomps. That's the thing.
Well, let me ask you a question because I play hockey, obviously. I'm not you're a big runner. I think Dave has run marathons. We talked about Bobby D, Terry, Sabo's a big runner.
Yeah.
But my day yesterday was because I had to shop for my old mom and my old mother-in-law.
Right.
I probably walked seriously miles yesterday. Then I come home and I shoveled a couple of times.
That sounds great. That's great. It all counts. That all counts.
Right. That's what I was curious. I mean, because
You don't have to run. If you walk the way what you just told me, the shoveling snow is cardio. If you did 20 minutes of that, you probably burned, I don't know, maybe 400 calories right there. That was a heavy snow we had, plus a lot of ice. So besides that, and besides all the walking you did, so then what you did is you probably bought yourself about 600 extra calories for dinner. And, as long as you don't eat like Henry VIII, you're going to be fine with something like that.
well, yeah, and you got to be careful with the shoveling because there's heart attack snow they talk about. But for the novice out there, the real novice, you mentioned processed foods. Give some examples.
Well, any food that won't spoil. Think about that. That's in your house. It's usually all the food that's in the middle of the grocery store. All the food that's on the ends of the grocery store, like the produce, the meat, the fish. Those are all the things that are real food to me. The stuff that's in the middle, in cans, a lot of times the stuff that's packaged so it will last. Look, the idea of processed foods is a good one in the sense of 20 or 30 years ago, we needed to feed a lot of people around the world. So you needed food that wouldn't perish, right? So we came up with a lot of these foods, and it was good intention. There's nothing wrong with it. My mom grew up with a lot of this stuff. I mean, here, Kraft macaroni and cheese, processed. What else do you want to do? We could go through most of the stuff in the middle of the grocery store is stuff that I try to avoid. Potato chips, they're awesome. They're processed. Pizza, pretty processed, unless you get somebody who's making fresh dough for you. We have a couple of places, brick oven places in Chicago here, Coal Fire Pizza. They make an awesome pizza with really fresh crust. They put it in a brick oven, not too much cheese. There's maybe 150 calories a slice. It is Napolitan style. It's awesome pizza. You could have 4 or 5 pieces and not ruin any of the things that I'm talking about on a given day. But you want to talk about like Papa John's or Domino's or that pizza on top of cheese, on top of crust, on top of pizza. It's just, you can eat it, but don't eat a lot of it if you want to stay on something like this. That's processed.
Well, what I'm hearing from you, and I mean, listen, Carlo, we're going to talk to you more about this, right? And what I'm hearing from you is, hey, listen, I'm not telling people to do an earth-shattering change.
No.
For me, I think if anything is going to stick, you want to do it in increments. You want it to be a lifestyle change, because I find if you try to like do something all in extremes, you get tired and then you end up going out and having a big Lou Malnati's pizza. It's not about how much you're eating. What you're saying is
I love Lou Malnati's too. I love it, just so you know. I'll have a piece, yeah.
But you're saying it's not how much you're eating, it's what you're eating.
Well, it's what you're eating, and as you get older, it turns out it is quantity to some degree. You've got to cut back on your portions a little bit if you want to make progress in terms of, if you're interested in getting down to your high school weight, you're going to have to cut portions a little bit. Not a lot, just a little bit. Like, no, you don't need two pieces of cake after a dinner. Just take the one piece or split it with somebody. But enjoy your food, but you don't have to go as crazy as maybe you used to when you were in your 20s and not thinking about it. And about kegs of beer, Stomp, I mean, That's a little. You know, you can have a beer, of course, but you have a keg.
No, no, I'm just joking, but
I know.
and to keep it lighthearted a little bit here.
Yeah.
Given your propensity for health and eating well and everything, how do you justify feeding the masses Kim and Carlos
Hot dogs.
hot dogs?
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good
I
one.
was waiting
Well,
for that to come.
we try to provide a healthy option actually Kim went to Vienna a number of years ago and said, hey, if you guys would just make a vegan dog, we could sell a lot of these. And then they laughed at her about 20 years ago. Guess what? We're selling Vienna vegan chili these days.
Oh,
And
Nice.
and I will even now look, a hot dog is as processed as it gets. Even a vegan hot dog, Chicago style, which I think she does a great job with it, with the vegan chili, and it's still processed food. So I say avoid that. Have one, sure, just don't eat it. And I think everybody should come to our hot dog cart and get a Chicago style hot dog. Just don't eat 4 of them and don't eat them every day. That's all.
Exactly.
where is your stand located for those of you?
Yeah, we like to plug our
Yeah,
local
where's your
business.
stand? And
Unfortunately, because of COVID, both my music and the hot dogs have been kind of shut down a little bit. But the stand at Eckerd Park has been open through COVID. Eckerd Park is on Chicago Avenue in Noble, and it's right in front of the field house there. And you can go there when it's not sub-zero temperatures. She'll be open probably in about a week or so. And that's where you can get the full array of vegan products if you want to stay on the healthy side. Of course, she has Vienna, Polish, and regular hot dogs. The regular carts will be open again when it warms up next week, because the museums are open again now. In front of the Museum of Natural History and across from the Shed Aquarium on the campus. So there's 2 carts down there, and I think Steve can give us a good plug, right? You've been down there.
Oh yeah, that's the best hot dog in the city without any question. Fabulous.
Kim loves having you down there too.
Great place.
This-
I love going there.
great. At Carlo's Corner, we're going to be coming back at you as we get closer to the Masters. Since we're talking about food, I just want to ask the guests here. It's Super Bowl Sunday. Can I ask you what you're going to have for dinner today, guys? And let us know, because we want to plug these restaurants. Hopefully it's a small business owner. So let's start with Steve Given. What's your Super Bowl meal today, Steve?
I'm trying to do like Carlo, so I'll be having a salad today.
Excellent. And you're going to do that homemade?
Yeah. Well, it's not as fresh as what Carlo would like, but I buy those salads that are already kind of mixed up and everything. I know that's not great, but
those aren't bad. Put some kale or some spinach in there too. Not a bad idea.
Awesome. Thank you.
What about you, Chmiel? What's for dinner for the Super Bowl game?
So this is my day to splurge. I actually have COVID has taught me to try and be a little healthier, because when I traveled so much for work, it was terrible. But today I'm going to have pepperoni pizza, a little bit of salad, and some chips and dip. Go back to healthy eating tomorrow.
Where's your pizza? Where are you getting your pizza from?
If I told you, you'd probably laugh. My wife actually picked it
Domino's.
up
Tombstone.
from Aldi this morning. Aldi's pizza is really good, fresh.
Okay.
And Carlo, it's cauliflower crust, so it's somewhat healthy.
Right.
Very
That's
good.
good.
And Stomps, what are you doing for Super Bowl Sunday?
I'm food-wise undecided. Last night we had Thai, and I had some vegetarian pad Thai, and I had
Nice.
a Thai seafood salad that was the hottest, spiciest thing I've had.
Yeah.
I mean, my mouth was it was
Did you
unbelievable.
Did you order it that way, or did it just come that way?
It just came that way.
Okay, because that's good. That's the real deal. Did you have a beer with it or something?
Keg.
I drank water, and and I had to literally eat the salad first, and I had to wait a half hour before I could dig into the pad Thai because
Wow.
when I was eating the pad Thai, it was reigniting it in my mouth.
Yeah.
It was insane. It was really insane. It was so hot. But
Was it a papaya salad? Is that the one, the som tam?
it was a seafood. It had
Okay.
it had shrimp and scallops and some mussels in it.
Nice.
That sounds great.
You know, I will say one thing quickly is that on the last few road trips with Team Chicago, we've we've all gone for Vietnamese food a lot, and we've gotten into the Vietnamese pho, which is the soup, right? The chicken soup, and Dante seems to love that. Bruner loves that. So we're always looking for Vietnamese. So as a healthy option when we go to Philly, maybe, you know, if you want to eat half a cheesesteak and then go to the Vietnamese place, we should try to find one. And I'm sure there's a number in Philly, right, Dave? You like Vietnamese food too.
I love Thai food, but Carlo, I'm still looking for those egg rolls in Vegas. Do you remember that?
I do. Yeah.
It's so embarrassing.
Hey, Carlo, can you stay just for 1.5 more minutes? I want you to close out with some music. I want to thank Carlo for that. That's stuff that, you know, it's an investment in yourself, which is the greatest investment you can make. And it's also generous of you, Carlo, to share your pointers with us in such a non-intimidating way. So I appreciate that. Hey, listen, a couple of quick announcements here. Our good friend here, Dre, is battling a knee injury. I think he had suffered that while playing at Woodridge. Dre, we're pulling for you. We hope your knee gets 100% recovered. And thank you for everything, including your posting of our TNZ episodes on the Hockey Monsters app. We appreciate you and everything you do. You just come with a great personality. Stomps, anything on Dre?
No, I reached out to him. Fortunately, it doesn't sound like it's, you know, a major knee injury. He's going to have to do some special exercises for about 4 weeks, and you should be good to go.
Awesome. Can't wait to have you back, Dre. And I love the original Six Hat. A couple of episodes that are coming up that I wanted to share with everybody. I want to welcome 3 guests in the coming week that are going to talk about 2 very relevant and important topics given the unprecedented times that we live in. Firstly, I'd like to, we're going to arrange a time to have Steve Fiorito come and join us on overcoming adversity in his life and how he's taken adversity and addiction and taken it to the next level to have his and live his best life. So we want to welcome Steve in an upcoming episode. I think many of us will find that relevant. Then, of course, Billy Jacques, who Dave Chmiel highlighted today, is his best choice for goalie, #1 goalie in the Chicago area. We want to welcome him to the show to talk about emotional freedom and mental health. I think he's a wealth of knowledge there. And I think given the pandemic that we live in, I think it would be a very good discussion relevant to everybody. And I'd love Stomps to conduct that interview. And then finally, a guy that we all know and love is John Scully. He tried to get his Glencoe Deck Hockey League off the ground back late last summer. Unfortunately, due to the COVID restrictions, he had to sort of pull back. However, he has all the intention to get his exciting league up and running. We're going to showcase him on our coming show. I've been in communication with him. So we look forward to you all joining us in future episodes. For those of you who tuned in today, you watched season 2, episode 7 of The Neutral Zone, where we had 3 very special guests in the notable absence of Boomer, which we'd love to have him in the future. But we had Steve Givens, Dave Chmiel, and Carlo Basile, who talked to us also about Carlo's Corner and living your most healthy life. Stomps, any last minute words before we close?
I think it was a great episode with great friends, teammates, opponents. I want to circle back to Carlo. You mentioned, you know, how the current situation has kind of limited you somewhat musically. Do you have anything to plug from a music standpoint that we could help you with here?
Well, you know, I'm doing some live streams this week for the University of Chicago. Those are kind of private for the doctors and their wellness network. So we're doing a few performances there. I'll put my website in the chat so that people can check it out, and I'll put upcoming performances on there. And then that way, as we go along, people can follow along if they're interested. But you want me to take us out with some music?
That would be great.
Beautiful.
Thank you, everybody. God bless.
Thank you.